A lone figure swings between skyscrapers under a moonlit sky. In one universe, he's a friendly neighborhood hero. In another, he's a legend reborn. Across countless realities, variations of Spider-Man live, fight, and sacrifice in parallel, unaware that they are all connected by invisible threads. Tonight, we guide us through those threads, weaving a tale that spans from comic book pages to cinematic worlds and beyond, delving into secrets and speculative mysteries that bind each spider hero into a single epic. This is not just one story, but many, a web of destinies entangled. And as each strand of silk overlaps, a larger, hidden pattern begins to emerge. Brace yourself for a journey through the Spider-Verse, where grounded lore intertwines with wild theories, and nothing is merely a coincidence. There are whispers in the dark corners of the multiverse, whispers of prophecies of ancient weavers and cosmic designs, hinting that Spider-Man's mythos is far deeper than anyone suspects. Each chapter of this saga will reveal a new layer of mystery, a new puzzle piece, steadily escalating the stakes. Stay vigilant, dear listener, for with great secrets must also come great revelations, and our journey has only just begun, with no turning back until the final truth is uncovered. In the beginning, there was Peter Parker of Earth 616, the original Spider-Man of the comics, a shy teenager bitten by a radioactive spider, the ultimate accident, or so it seemed. Peter gained astonishing powers, the proportional strength of a spider, the ability to cling to walls, a tingling sixth sense warning of danger. He donned the red and blue suit to fight crime after fate taught him a cruel lesson about responsibility. On the surface, his origin is straightforward. Science gone awry creates a hero. But beneath the surface of this well-known tale lurk hints of a grander design. Decades into his crime-fighting career, Peter encountered a mysterious man named Ezekiel Sims, who possessed similar powers. Ezekiel whispered an unnerving theory to Peter. What if the spider that bit you wasn't an accident at all, but destiny? According to Ezekiel, ancient forces might have chosen Peter as a spider totem, a human champion of the mystical spider that dwells in the fabric of reality. Peter laughed it off at first. Science explains his powers, right? Yet the idea gnawed at him. Could there be a prophecy behind the powers? Little signs began to surface. Peter's uncanny spider sense felt almost like a psychic link to something greater. He has died and been miraculously reborn before, emerging from a cocoon with even more spider-like abilities, as if some spider deity wasn't done with him yet. Late at night, swinging above the city, Peter wondered if an unseen hand was guiding his life. There are legends even older than the radioactivity that spawned Spider-Man. In distant ages, stories speak of an elder goddess named Neith, who spun a great cosmic web connecting all of creation. Her children, the spider totems, would be born across realities to protect the balance of this web of life and destiny. Spider-Man, unknowingly, might be one of those totems, the latest in a long line of chosen champions. As fantastical as it sounds, Peter has encountered beings who treat him as such, notably Morlun, a vampiric predator from beyond time who hunted Spider-Man for the essence of his totemic life force. Morlun nearly killed Peter, convinced that only by preying on spider totems could he sustain his own existence. Why would a being travel dimensions just to target one New York kid with spider powers? Perhaps because Peter's powers are part of something fundamental, a node in the grand design of the multiverse. These revelations shook Peter to his core. For years he believed he was just a product of science and personal choices. Now he faced the possibility that he was destined, even prophesied, to become Spider-Man, long before that fateful spider bite. The notion is terrifying and exhilarating. If true, it means every challenge he's faced was more than personal trial. It was part of a cosmic test, and he is not alone. Unbeknownst to our hero, The great web of life connects him to spider champions in other universes as well. Even as Peter grapples with this hidden law, balancing the ordinary, paying rent, academic pursuits, daily quips with the extraordinary, a much larger saga is unfolding beyond Earth 616. The first thread has been plucked, sending a subtle vibration across the web. In the shadows, forces that watch the web take notice, and the ripple moves outward to another strand, another Spider-Man, in another world entirely. In a parallel universe known to fans as the Raimiverse, the city of New York basks in a nostalgic golden glow. Here lives Peter Parker, portrayed by Tobey Maguire, a Spider-Man whose journey we witnessed in the early 2000s films. His origin shares much with the classic tale. A genetically engineered super spider gives him incredible powers, but his path diverges in fascinating ways. This Peter's body produces its own webbing, organic and seamless, a gift none of his counterparts initially shared. With a single thought, thwip, silken strands shoot from his wrists. Many chalk it up to movie magic or creative license. But consider, could this be a sign that Raimi's Spider-Man is even more profoundly connected to the spider that bit him? Perhaps in this universe, the spider's essence fused so deeply with Peter that his very biology was transformed to mirror the arachnid. It's almost as if this Peter Parker was meant to be Spider-Man on a genetic level, a destiny woven into his DNA, not simply gadgetry or experimentation. This Spider-Man's life has a mythic quality. The way he embraces the mantle of heroism feels predestined, guided by the immortal words of Uncle Ben that echo through every reality. With great power comes great responsibility. In Raimi's universe, that credo isn't just advice, it's practically a law of nature. Every victory and heartbreak Peter endures seems tied to that principle, as if the universe itself enforces the lesson. He stops a runaway train through sheer will and self-sacrifice. He gives up and regains his powers when he strays from his path, and he even resists the temptations of a dark alien symbiote by remembering who he truly is. Through it all, a question looms. Who is writing the script of his life? When Peter inexplicably loses his powers in Spider-Man 2 during a crisis of conscience, science alone can't explain it. His abilities falter when his sense of responsibility wavers. It is as though the web of fate responds to his spirit. For a time, the web lets him be normal, only to nearly cost lives until he rediscovers his resolve. Once Peter reaffirms his heroic purpose, his powers return in full. It's as if some force refuses to let him abandon his destiny. Even Peter's enemies hint at the larger multiverse in sly ways. Recall the moment J. Jonah Jameson tosses out a name for Dr. Octavius. Doctor Strange, that's taken. It's a playful nod, yes, but also a subtle clue that other extraordinary figures lurk unseen in this world. Could a master of the mystic arts actually exist in Raimi's reality, guarding dimensional doorways? Years later, we'd learn the answer when this Peter crossed paths with a Doctor Strange from another universe entirely. These coincidences start to feel like threads converging. And when multiple threads converge, a web forms. The Raimi Peter's love and loss also carry a sense of fate. He's haunted by the death of Norman Osborn, impaled by his own glider in a tragic irony, and by the downfall of his best friend Harry, consumed by vengeance. Time and again, those close to Peter suffer from the collateral damage of his heroism. It's as if this reality insists that sacrifice is integral to Spider-Man's journey, an unavoidable canon event. Sound familiar? Across universes, Spider-Men often endure a canonical tragedy, an Uncle Ben, a loved one's death, that cements their resolve. Raimi's Spider-Man feels the weight of that pattern keenly, each loss reinforcing the mantra that holds his universe together. One might suspect a cosmic scriptwriter at work, ensuring that pivotal moments happen to shape the hero. As he swings through the rainy cityscape, this Peter doesn't know of the cosmic tapestry. But in quiet moments, staring at his reflection in a cracked mirror after a battle, maybe he senses something, a purpose bigger than himself, pulling on his life like a puppeteer on strings of webbing. He is a hero forged by destiny as much as by choice, an essential strand in the grand design. And beyond the skyline of his New York, other strands are vibrating. The web draws connections between worlds. From the Raimiverse, our perspective shifts once more to yet another Peter Parker, whose story took a darker, more conspiratorial turn. The web leads us to a universe of untold secrets and heartbreak, the world of the Amazing Spider-Man. Imagine a universe where Spider-Man's origin was never a coincidence at all, where the spider that bit him was practically programmed to find him. Welcome to the world of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, the star of the Amazing Spider-Man films. Here, Peter Parker's saga is laced with mystery from the start. His parents, Richard and Mary Parker, vanished under murky circumstances, leaving young Peter in Uncle Ben and Aunt May's care. As Peter later discovers, his father was a scientist at Oscorp, working on radical cross-species genetics. The pieces slowly come together. Those genetically engineered spiders at Oscorp weren't random experiments. They were tied intimately to Richard Parker's own DNA. In a secret Roosevelt subway station laboratory, a long-lost message from Richard reveals the truth. He encoded the spiders with his own genetic code. Only someone from the Parker bloodline could successfully bond with the spider's gift. In other words, when one of those spiders bit Peter on that fateful school field trip, it wasn't an accident of fate. It was the fulfillment of a design, a legacy that Richard unknowingly passed to his son. Peter's mind reels at the implication. All his life, he grappled with feelings of abandonment by his parents, only to learn that he was the key to his father's life's work. The spider chose him because it literally could choose no other. Only Peter Parker could become Spider-Man in this universe. That casts everything in a new light. This Spider-Man was engineered years before he was even bitten. Destiny, in the form of genetic code, marked him from birth. Think of the eerie significance. If Peter had not been at Oscorp that day, perhaps no one else bitten would have survived or gained powers. In fact, we see hints of this. Others exposed to the cross-species venom either died or became monsters, the tragic fate of Dr. Kurt Connors becoming the Lizard. Peter alone gains benefits instead of horrific side effects. It's as if the universe, with a little help from Richard Parker, said, "Only the true heir shall possess the power of the spider, not chance, design." This revelation also reframes Peter's guilt and responsibility. In this world, he feels responsible not just for Uncle Ben's death and Gwen Stacy's safety, but for the very legacy of his parents. He carries the weight of a family secret that cost his father his life. The Parkers were killed to keep that secret, after all, a conspiracy to control the power of the spiders. Knowing this, Peter's crusade against Oscorp's abuses becomes more than heroic duty. It's almost personal destiny. He's finishing what his father started, or prevented. And yet, for all his efforts, fate deals him a cruel hand, the death of Gwen Stacy. On that night, atop a clock tower, time quite literally ran out for Peter's greatest love. Gwen's fall and Peter's desperate web reaching out, only to catch her a split second too late, feels like a fixed point in time, a canon event that even this gifted, destined Spider-Man could not avert. His scream of anguish echoes across realities. We've seen it before in comics and in Raimi's universe. The hero's love falls and their world shatters. It happens again here, as if no matter the universe, certain tragedies must occur to cement the spider's path. Yet, something remarkable follows Gwen's loss. We later glimpse this Peter in a crossover of worlds, bruised by grief but tempered like steel by it. He confesses that for a while after Gwen's death, he stopped pulling his punches. a chilling admission that hints this Spider-Man nearly succumbed to a darker destiny, one of rage and vengeance. But he pulled himself back. Why? Perhaps a lingering sense of that old Parker responsibility, or Gwen's memory guiding him to the light. Or maybe, just maybe, the web of life wouldn't let him fall to corruption. This Peter gets a shot at redemption when he saves another universe's MJ from a similar fall, finally catching someone in time. A cosmic apology, or a reward for finding himself again. Strange coincidences line his journey, suggesting the hand of fate never let go of his thread. In the shadows of this universe, too, lie hints of a larger tapestry. Oscorp was ready to unleash a slew of supervillains, a sinister six, as if drawn to the spider like moths to a flame. It's almost a multiversal rule. Where a spider totem rises, its opposing forces gather. This Peter's trials were gearing up to become even more epic, as though the universe was preparing him for something monumental before his story prematurely stopped on film. We're left to wonder, if his tale continued, would he have uncovered more links to the multiverse, or the true source of his powers? The answers remain hidden, but one thing is clear. In this universe, Spider-Man is not born by accident, but by grand design. The Parker blood, the secret experiments, it all points to Spider-Man as a predestined mantle, almost hereditary in nature. From the ashes of Gwen's fate and the secrets of Oscorp, our narrative thread leaps to yet another strand in the web. This time, we venture into a world where Spider-Man isn't a solitary hero in his universe at all, but one figure among many, a friendly neighborhood crime fighter rubbing shoulders with gods and monsters. Yet, even in such a crowded, heroic age, his multiversal importance stands unquestioned. Prepare to step into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where Spider-Man's thread intertwines with the grand tapestry of Avengers, and yet, he remains singularly pivotal in ways still unfolding. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a world of Iron Men, Thunder Gods, and Sorcerer Supremes, Peter Parker, Tom Holland, starts as just a kid in Queens with newfound powers and a homemade suit. Here, Spider-Man's story is immediately different. He operates in the larger-than-life context of the Avengers, recruited by Tony Stark before he's even fully understood his own abilities. One might think that in such a world, Peter's role is diminished by the presence of bigger heroes. But as our tale unfolds, it becomes evident that the MCU's Spider-Man is a crucial linchpin in the multiversal scheme, perhaps precisely because he's surrounded by heroes, not alone. From the moment Tony Stark mentors him, Peter's trajectory is unique. He receives an advanced suit, fights Captain America, and hurtles into space to battle an alien warlord, Thanos, all before graduating high school. It's almost as if the universe is fast-tracking his hero's journey, escalating his stakes at breakneck speed. By age 17, he's been to alien planets and back, died in Tony's arms during the blip, and returned to help save the universe in the endgame. That's more cosmic drama than many Spider-Men see in a lifetime. Why, Peter? What cosmic purpose plucked this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man into center stage of universe-threatening events? Perhaps the web of life saw in him a bridge, a character grounded enough to connect with everyday humanity, yet capable of standing among legends. In the MCU, Peter is a bit like the glue between street-level heroics and cosmic stakes. It's as if destiny ensured Spider-Man would be present at the key moments when reality hung in the balance, representing the little guy in those giant battles. Yet, Peter's most defining MCU moment isn't defeating Thanos or flying through space. It comes in Spider-Man: No Way Home, when a botched spell cracks open the multiverse itself. Trying to undo the revelation of his secret identity, Peter entreats Doctor Strange to cast risky magic. The result? Visitors from other universes slip through, and not just any visitors, but other Spider-Man villains. Ghosts of destinies from Tobey's and Andrew's worlds. This is no mere fan service crossover. It feels like the web of life flexing its strands, tangling three parallel spider destinies together for the first time. In the chaos, MCU Peter meets his two spider counterparts, older and battle-worn, and they guide him through unspeakable grief, the loss of his beloved Aunt May, another canon event sealing his resolve. Think about it. The multiverse didn't rupture to unleash an army of random variants. It specifically drew Spider-Man and his mirrored foes into collision. It's as if some force wanted these three Peters to meet, to save each other, to learn, to set right what once went wrong, curing Norman Osborn and Dr. Octopus, giving closure to Andrew's Peter as he saves MJ, etc. The Spider-Men from disparate worlds become each other's salvation, orchestrated by something greater than Strange's spell alone. Could it be that the web itself, sensing a critical moment, wove their threads together deliberately? In their brief alliance, we see the tapestry more clearly. Spider-Man's variants resonate with one another on a level no other heroes do. They literally feel like brothers by the end, bound by shared tragedies and triumphs, as if they were always connected. By the conclusion of that adventure, a bittersweet sacrifice is made. To set reality right, the world is made to forget Peter Parker entirely. Imagine the existential weight. Peter remains Spider-Man, but to everyone he ever loved, MJ, Ned, Happy Hogan, he's a stranger. It's as though he's been erased from his own life. While heartbreaking, this development has an uncanny silver lining. In one stroke, Peter's secret identity is safe again, to the extreme, and he's returned to a humble, anonymous existence. A friendly neighborhood Spider-Man with a blank slate, sewing a homemade suit and swinging into the night unknown. But here's the intriguing part. Peter's removal from everyone's memory might have ripples beyond his world. If no one remembers Peter Parker, not even Strange or the Avengers, is he effectively a ghost in the cosmic ledger? Perhaps this forgetting acts like a protective cocoon around Peter, keeping him hidden not just from earthly records, but maybe from multiversal entities that monitor the web. One could speculate that now Peter is a uniquely unbound variable in the multiverse, a Spider-Man with no ties, free from the knowledge of both allies and enemies. That makes him unpredictable and potentially crucial for future events. After all, if some cosmic spider deity or interdimensional predator were tracking spider totems, the MCU's Peter just slipped off their radar in a sense. Could that be the key to saving reality later, that the most forgotten Spider-Man may be the one upon whom everything will depend because no one sees him coming? In the MCU's grand tapestry, this young Spider-Man has already been mentored by genius billionaires, crossed paths with sorcerers, and brushed shoulders with alternate selves. His thread is woven deeply into the fabric of his universe's fate, and now possibly into the fate of all universes, as the barriers between them grow thin. As Phase 4 and 5 unravel tales of a multiverse in peril, with timelines branching and Kang the Conqueror looming, one wonders what role an anonymous Spider-Man might yet play. The stakes keep rising, from local, homecoming, to global, far from home, to multiversal, no way home. Where to next? The cosmos, the end of time. The MCU Peter stands at a crossroads, his personal life wiped clean but his heroic duty heavier than ever. He's truly alone for the first time, yet more connected to the multiverse than he realizes. His story leaves us on a tantalizing precipice. The friendly neighborhood hero is now a lone spider, secretly guarding a city that doesn't remember him, in a universe hurtling toward a multiverse saga. No off-ramp, no respite. Peter's greatest challenges lie ahead, and they may well transcend his reality entirely. But before that future arrives, let's step sideways into the multiverse to witness tales of other spider heroes who have already embraced the broader web head-on. In one world, the mantle of Spider-Man passes to a new generation. In another, a long-dead friend lives on as a spider heroine. In the shadows, a spider-bitten survivor emerges from isolation. And far ahead in time, a spider figure watches from 2099. These are the threads of the Spider-Verse, and they are about to converge in spectacular fashion. In a universe not so far from our own, a young teenager named Miles Morales hums to music in his headphones as he spray paints vibrant graffiti art in an abandoned subway station. He's just an ordinary kid from Brooklyn until an extraordinary spider changes his life. That night, a radioactive spider crawls out of the shadows and bites Miles on the hand. Sound familiar? But here's the twist. This spider came from another universe. Unbeknownst to Miles, this peculiar arachnid was pulled in through a dimensional breach caused by a villain's super collider. It carried the essence of a world where no Spider-Man existed, labeled 42. When it bit Miles, it glitched and fizzled, a hint that it was out of place in this reality. Miles Morales became an anomaly, a Spider-Man in a universe that already had one, the Peter Parker of his world, and a recipient of powers that perhaps were intended for someone else entirely. From the very start, Miles's origin screams multiversal shenanigans. It's as if the web of life threw a wild card into the deck, a spider that crossed realities to create a new hero where fate hadn't planned one. At first, Miles struggles with imposter syndrome. After all, his world's original Spider-Man, a seasoned Peter Parker, tragically dies in battle shortly after Miles gains his powers. The city mourns Peter as a true hero, and Miles is left carrying a mantle he never asked for. Imagine the weight on this 13-year-old's shoulders. He's gifted, or cursed, with the very powers of a legend who just fell, and now a whole city needs a Spider-Man, but doesn't know he exists. What Miles doesn't realize is that his accidental transformation might be the multiverse's way of ensuring the idea of Spider-Man never dies. In Miles's world, Peter Parker's story ended too soon, but the appearance of a new Spider-Man keeps the thread alive. It's almost as if some higher reality said, this world cannot be left without a Spider Guardian, and in a cosmic coincidence, arranged for Miles to take up the torch. A tragedy was averted in the grand scheme. The Spider-Man of one world perished, but a new one arose in the same breath, balancing the scales of the web. Miles' powers even come with unique flourishes, distinguishing him from his predecessor. He can turn invisible at will and emits a crackling venom blast of bioelectricity. These abilities are unheard of for Peter Parker, almost like an evolutionary leap. Could it be that the interdimensional spider carried something extra, a variance that made Miles not just a Spider-Man, but a new breed of Spider-Man? Speculation runs wild. Perhaps that spider, coming from a world without a Spidey, was supercharged to create a hero powerful enough to protect an entire reality solo. Or maybe Miles's own latent potential awakened something novel when the bite occurred. Either way, his distinct powers suggest the web of life sometimes innovates. When fate tosses a curveball, the spider essence adapts. Miles is different, and that difference allows him to eventually do what his Peter Parker could not: unite a team of spider heroes and save the multiverse from collapse. Yes, Miles soon discovers he's not alone. Enter the Spider-Verse. Through a crazy turn of events, Miles meets spider people from other dimensions, including an older, worn Peter B. Parker, the intrepid Gwen Stacy from another Earth, a noir detective Spider-Man from the 1930s, an anime-inspired Penny Parker with her SP, Dr. Robot, and even a cartoonish Spider-Ham. This motley crew falls into Miles's life precisely when he needs guidance the most. Think of the odds. Just as Miles is doubting he can fill Peter's shoes, 5 spider heroes land literally on his doorstep. Coincidence? Or the web at work again, ensuring the new Spider-Man gets the mentorship and camaraderie he requires. Under their unconventional tutelage, Miles learns to control his powers and, more importantly, to believe in himself. A pivotal moment comes when Miles takes a leap of faith off a skyscraper, a beautifully symbolic act of embracing his destiny. As he free falls, then swings triumphantly across the New York skyline in his own black and red suit, we feel the multiverse cheering. A new Spider-Man is truly born. The torch is passed. Destiny fulfilled, though not the destiny anyone expected. Miles's journey is rife with curiosity-inducing tidbits. For instance, there's the mysterious recurring number 42, the number on the spider that bit him, popping up throughout his story, on street signs, jerseys, even as the winning lottery number his dad jokes about. Why 42? Some say it's a tribute to Jackie Robinson or a nod to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But within the narrative it feels like an omen, a tag from the multiverse signaling that Miles' existence is extraordinary. It's the mark of the anomaly, the chance that defied odds. By the end of Into the Spider-Verse, Miles not only saves his universe from Kingpin's reality-shattering collider, but he cements a bond with his spider friends that transcends dimensions. He and Gwen find they can still communicate across universes, a connection that should be impossible, yet their friendship, or perhaps something more, literally crosses space-time. How? Is the web of life favoring Miles, granting him links others don't have? Or are there threads in the web entwined in a special way? It's a mystery left hanging like a loose web strand fluttering in the breeze. One thing's for sure, Miles embodies the hope that anyone can wear the mask, as Peter Parker himself told him. But in Miles's case, anyone doesn't mean just anyone. It means the right person at the right time, even if the timing is wrong by design. He was never supposed to be Spider-Man in his world. The role was thrust upon him by a multiversal hiccup, and yet he rose to become arguably one of the greatest Spider-Men precisely because of that. The multiverse corrected an imbalance by creating an anomaly who could handle anomalous situations. Miles is living proof that the web of destiny can improvise. When a strand breaks, like the death of a Spider-Man, a new strand can form in an instant, weaving itself in. That makes Miles both unpredictable and vitally important. After all, if he wasn't meant to be Spider-Man originally, what else might he achieve that others could not? As Miles carries the legacy forward, he hears a whisper through the dimensions, an older, wiser voice telling him, Spider-Man always gets back up. It's the voice of Peter Parker. All Peter Parkers, in a sense, encouraging him. The legacy lives in him now. His story, however, is but one of many in the grand tapestry. From the bold newness of Miles, we pivot to another inspiring anomaly. A spider hero who in another world was known only as a tragedy, but here becomes the symbol of hope. Prepare to meet a familiar face behind a very different mask. Gwen Stacy, the Spider-Woman of Earth, 65. In most universes, Gwen Stacy is a name that brings a pang of sorrow. She's remembered as Peter Parker's first love, the golden-haired girl who fell from a great height, whose loss defined Spider-Man's life. But not so in Earth 65. In that reality, fate flipped the script. It was Gwen who was bitten by a radioactive spider, and Peter Parker who tragically died. Here, Gwen Stacy is Spider-Woman, often affectionately called Spider-Gwen, or lately, Ghost Spider. She swings through the streets in a stylish white hooded costume, ballet shoes against the skyline, rocking out on drums with her band by day and pounding criminals by night. Gwen's existence as a spider heroine is a powerful counterpoint to her classic role. It's as if the multiverse sought to balance one of its deepest wounds. In one world, Gwen dies because Spider-Man couldn't save her. In another, Gwen lives because she became Spider-Man. A cosmic apology, a second chance. The irony is beautiful and haunting. The girl who was a symbol of loss now stands as a symbol of heroism. Gwen's origin story carries echoes of Peter's, but with poignant twists. As a high schooler, Gwen gained amazing powers and decided to use them for good, partly inspired by her police captain father's moral code. However, her friend Peter Parker, bullied and fragile, became so enamored with Spider-Woman's example that he tried an experiment on himself to be special and tragically turned into the Lizard, dying in Gwen's arms after she subdued him. The world wrongfully blamed Spider-Woman for Peter's death, and Gwen was branded a menace by none other than her own father, George Stacy, who didn't know the vigilante he was hunting was his daughter. This is a heart-rending parallel. In many universes, police Captain Stacy dies and Spider-Man is blamed. Here, it's reversed. Peter dies and Spider-Woman is blamed by Captain Stacy. The multiverse loves its mirrored patterns. Gwen's life is suffused with the theme of tragic misunderstanding. She wants to do good, but faces persecution, forcing her to keep secrets from those she loves. If Peter Parker's burden was guilt over failing to save Gwen Stacy's burden is guilt over failing to save Peter. Each is haunted by the other's death in opposite worlds, almost like yin and yang across dimensions. Despite these burdens, Gwen emerges as one of the most resilient and upbeat spider heroes. She has a wry wit, her quips are as sharp as Peter's ever were, and an artistic soul. Donning her mask, with its haunting white eyes and pink web pattern highlights, she often looks like a literal ghost, perhaps a ghost of the Gwen that died elsewhere, now avenging that death by living her own life to the fullest. Gwen even calls herself Ghost Spider, an acknowledgement of the shadow of her alternate fate. How eerie it must be for her when she eventually learns of other universes to discover that in many of them she's known only as a martyr. Talk about confronting your own mortality. Gwen met alternate versions of herself who never got to write their own story. This knowledge only fuels her determination to prove that a Stacy can wear the mask and thrive. Gwen's adventures eventually intertwine with the greater Spider-Verse. She finds herself dimension hopping, joining forces with other spiders. She's instrumental in the spider army that battles the inheritors. More on those monsters soon. In doing so, she even visits the main Marvel universe, Earth 616, for a time, walking the very streets where another Gwen Stacy died decades ago. Imagine her reflection as she stands at the top of the George Washington Bridge in Manhattan, knowing in another reality, this is where I fell. It's a profound confrontation with destiny. But Gwen Stacy is nothing if not courageous. She faces these ironies head-on. In some storylines, she even becomes a protector of the multiverse's web of life itself. At one point, she was tapped as a potential replacement for the omnipotent Master Weaver, the cosmic figure who sits at the center of the web of life and destiny, weaving the strands of all spider heroes. The fact that Gwen could even be considered for such a role speaks volumes. She's more than a random Spider-Woman. She might be a linchpin of the entire multiverse's stability one day. Consider also Gwen's connections. She develops a deep friendship with Miles Morales across dimensions, the beginnings of a star-crossed romance, perhaps. The fact that Gwen and Miles, two younger inheritors of the Spider legacy, forge a bond despite being universes apart, suggests the web is actively drawing together the next generation of champions. Hidden prophecies swirl around them. In the Spider-Geddon comics, it's prophesied that certain spiders will play key roles. Gwen often finds herself in the center of those events, proving indispensable. One cannot mention Gwen without also noting her sense of style and music. She's a drummer in a punk band called the Mary Janes, and her beats often set the rhythm for her fights. There's a playful theory that Gwen's connection to music, rhythm, timing, somehow aligns her with the vibrations of the multiverse. After all, the web of life might just be strings that vibrate, almost like cosmic guitar strings. Perhaps Gwen can instinctively feel those vibrations. Maybe that's why in the animated Spider-Verse, her movements sync so perfectly to a drum beat only she hears. It's a fanciful idea, but an enticing one. Spider-Gwen, the multiversal rhythm keeper. Ultimately, Gwen Stacy's story is one of redemption on a cosmic scale. She represents the multiverse, making amends, turning a famed damsel in distress into the hero of her own story. When she leaps off a rooftop, it's not to fall helplessly, but to swing high and kick fate in the face. Her presence in the web strengthens it, because it adds a thread that once was missing: Gwen's own agency. And as fate would have it, Gwen isn't the only woman to break free from the sidelines and seize the spider destiny. There's another, from Peter Parker's own world, who for years remained hidden in the shadows, until the day she too claimed her place in the web of heroes. It's time to shine a light on Silk, the secret spider who was there from the start, yet unknown until recently. For over a decade, Peter Parker believed he was the sole beneficiary of that radioactive spider bite from the science exhibit. Little did he know, as he walked away nursing his bitten hand, the same spider crawled onward and bit a second student before succumbing to the radiation. That student was Cindy Moon, a bright young woman with a promising future. In that fleeting moment, two spider heroes were born side by side, yet only one swung into the spotlight. What happened to Cindy? Her tale is one of secrecy, survival, and an ominous prophecy that kept her out of sight. Cindy's powers manifested quickly, perhaps even more intensely than Peter's. She gained organic webbing abilities, spinning silk from her fingertips, and a spider sense even more acute than Spider-Man's. But before she could fully comprehend these gifts, a man named Ezekiel Sims, yes, the same enigmatic figure who later visited Peter, intervened. Ezekiel knew something terrifying. He'd been tracking a supernatural predator named Morlun, who feasted on spider totems, those with spider powers. He recognized that Cindy, like Peter, had become a totem, a spider heroine, and thus a target for Morlun. To protect her, Ezekiel whisked Cindy away and locked her in a secret bunker for years. Imagine Cindy's isolation, a teenager suddenly imprisoned for her own safety, with only sparse training materials and knowledge of a looming threat to keep her company. She could not contact her family, could not step outside. Meanwhile, across town, Spider-Man swung through the skyline, completely oblivious that someone else with the same powers languished in solitude. Cindy watched news reports of Spider-Man's heroics, yearning to join the fight or at least reach out. But Ezekiel's warnings were absolute. If she emerged, the Devourer, Morlun, would sense her and come. So she stayed hidden, the phantom second spider in Earth 616's history, a silken secret cocooned away while Peter lived out the adventures she could only imagine. Then, one fateful day, years later in the comics, Peter Parker learns of Cindy's existence. Shocked and guilt-ridden, how had he never wondered if the spider bit someone else? He frees her from the bunker. Cindy Moon steps out into the world as Silk, and for the first time stretches her legs as a hero. The reunion of these two spider-bitten souls triggers something mystical, an intense, unbidden attraction between Peter and Cindy. Their spider senses recognize each other, creating a primal bond, a side effect of their shared spider DNA. It's a bit romantic, a bit inconvenient, and quite telling. It's as if the spiders within them remember that they are mates of a sort, born from the same event, two halves of a whole. The bride has met the other, to use terms from spider lore prophecy. For indeed, Silk is referred to in ancient texts as the bride, one of the key spider totems alongside the other and the scion. It was foretold that the bride's presence would be pivotal in the grand battle for the web of life. This prophecy, and Morlun's obsession with it, is exactly why Cindy was hidden. She was too important to fall into enemy hands. Once Silk is in the open, the dominoes of prophecy begin toppling. Morlun and his twisted family, The inheritors detect her presence immediately, just as Ezekiel feared. These ancient beings from Earth-1 start hunting spider heroes across dimensions in a genocidal campaign known as the Spider-Verse event. They seek to capture the Bride, the Other, and the Scion, the three vital totems, to enact a ritual that would corrupt the web of life and hand them ultimate power. In plain terms, if they kill Silk, the Bride, Cain, a Spider-Man clone embodying the Other, and Benji, infant brother of an alternate Spider-Girl, the Scion, they could slay the Master Weaver and control all reality's spider destiny. Heavy stuff. Thus, Silk goes from being a secret prisoner to a central figure in a cosmos-spanning war overnight. She joins forces with Peter and dozens of spider people from other universes, the Spider Army, to fight back. Despite being newer to heroism, Cindy proves herself immensely resourceful. At one point, she even infiltrates the Inheritor's home dimension and discovers the Master Weaver's lair, an act of bravery that helps turn the tide. What's striking is how Cindy embraces her supposed role as the Bride, but also defies it. Prophecies in the Spider-Verse saga are written in threads, but Silk believes in weaving her own fate. She won't be a damsel or a sacrificial lamb. When cornered, she uses her wits, leading the Inheritors on wild chases across unsafe dimensions, even utilizing the radiation-soaked world that is toxic to them as a temporary refuge. Through her actions, Silk shows that prophecies can be outsmarted. The Inheritors, for all their foresight, didn't predict that the Bride would be so hard to catch. Cindy turns the very thing that was a liability, her allure to Morlun, into a weapon, baiting traps and distracting the hunters at key moments. On a more intimate level, Silk's emergence complicates Peter's world. Their chemistry is intense and confusing. They care for each other. But is it real or just pheromones? It adds a layer of almost mythical romance to Spider-Man lore. Two spider totems drawn together by fate. In quieter moments, they talk about the life Cindy lost in confinement, the family she longs to reunite with, the years of normalcy she'll never get back. Peter, empathic as ever, feels responsible to help her adjust. Through his support, and eventually through therapy and finding a new purpose as a journalist by day, Cindy starts reclaiming her life. It's a satisfying arc, from hidden Spider Bride in a bunker to a confident hero forging her own identity. Silk's story underscores a major theme. For every spider we know, there may be another in the wings, unseen. The web of life is vast and filled with secret threads. How many more unsung, spider-bitten individuals might be out there? Silk herself mentors others later. There's even a boy named Karnak in one timeline, bitten by the same spider. The lineage of that spider continues. It boggles the mind and feeds the imagination. The spider legacy is not linear or singular. It's a lattice with overlapping strands. Cindy's presence was a missing strand in Peter's own story, one that, when revealed, changed his understanding of his origin. It was never just him. Even in the familiar story we thought we knew, there was a hidden chapter all along. With Silk's thread now woven visibly into the tapestry, the Spider-Verse grows richer. The war with the Inheritors reveals the stakes of neglecting any strand. If Cindy had remained hidden forever, perhaps the Inheritors would have eventually won, picking off isolated spiders one by one. Instead, her unveiling galvanized a union of spiders across realities and led to the defeat of those would-be apex predators. The multiverse was saved by the very thing it sought to protect, the community of spider heroes united in a common destiny. Silk, the once hidden bride, became a key savior of all spiders. Now, as the dust settles from these battles, one has to wonder, who oversees these intricate connections? Who or what maintains the web of life that binds characters like Silk, Peter, Gwen, and Miles together? For that, we turn our gaze to the future, to a man who has peered behind the curtain of time itself. He stands vigilant in the year 2099, watching the threads of destiny and sometimes tugging at them when needed. Enter Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man of the future, and perhaps the multiverse's next great hope, or its strict guardian, depending on who you ask. The year is 2099. Neon lights flicker over the skyscrapers of Nueva York, a future metropolis ruled by mammoth corporations and beset by cyberpunk crime. In this world, Spider-Man is not a relic of the past, but a beacon of hope for the future, carried on by a man named Miguel O'Hara. Miguel didn't gain his powers by accident or a family legacy. He's a brilliant geneticist who, while attempting to replicate the abilities of the original Spider-Man, ended up splicing his own DNA with a spider's in a lab mishap. The result? Miguel develops spider-like powers, enhanced strength, agility, fangs, talons, and even a form of web glider. With a sleek blue and red skull emblem costume, Spider-Man 2099 swings into action in a world of flying cars and hollow screens. But as extraordinary as his future setting is, Miguel soon finds himself tangled in something even more astounding: the multiverse's web of Spider-Man. Miguel is unique among spider heroes because he has explicit knowledge of history and fate. In his era, the exploits of Peter Parker are legend, historical record. Miguel knows the broad strokes of Spider-Man's mythos: the Parker luck, the great power and responsibility, the hero's rogues and tragedies. Armed with that knowledge, he shoulders the spider mantle very differently. He's proactive and unafraid to tamper with time if it means averting disaster. On multiple occasions, Miguel travels back to the 20th, 21st century. Once, he even got stranded in our present for a while, working at Peter's company under an alias, which is a bit like a modern knight of the future mingling at King Arthur's court unbeknownst. In these journeys, he learns firsthand how delicate the timeline is. His very existence is proof of Spider-Man's enduring legacy, but also a caution. If the past is changed too much, Miguel's future could blink out or morph drastically. That almost happens. After a multiversal adventure, the 2014 Spider-Verse event, Miguel returns to 2099 only to find his future in ruins. Determined to save his timeline, he embarks on a long quest to pinpoint and prevent the catalyst of that destruction. He becomes, in essence, a time-hopping guardian, fighting shadowy organizations and timeline threats to ensure 2099 survives. In the course of all this, Miguel plays a pivotal role in the Spider-Verse war against the Inheritors. He was part of the Spider Army that confronted those interdimensional vampires. At one point, Miguel and his allies managed to kill one of the Inheritors, Deimos, and Miguel studies the body in 2099's lab, discovering the Inheritor's weakness to radiation. It's a very Spider-Man 2099 thing to do, applying scientific acumen from the future to solve a crisis in the present. This discovery is key to defeating the Inheritors for good, effectively saving all spider people. Notably, Miguel isn't driven by prophecy or mysticism. He's a man of science, but through science he becomes deeply entwined with the mystical web of destiny. He sees the threads that others experience as fate. Perhaps in his futuristic perspective, he can view the web almost like a cosmic network, something to be mapped, studied, and if necessary, debugged. Miguel's personality is also an interesting foil to the Parkers. He's a bit more hardened, has a sharper temper, and a wry cynicism, likely born from navigating the dystopian politics of his time. Yet he's undeniably heroic and carries a strict moral code. Over time, the weight of preserving his future, and by extension, many futures, weighs heavy on him. In the recent animated film Across the Spider-Verse, a version of Miguel O'Hara appears as the leader of the Spider Society, a band of spider heroes monitoring multiversal threats. This Miguel is portrayed as intense and haunted by a personal failure where he tried to replace a dead version of himself in another universe, only to cause that universe's collapse. That trauma drives him to police the canon events in every Spider's life, ensuring certain tragedies, like police captain sacrifices, happen to prevent greater calamities. It's a controversial stance. Essentially, he believes Spider-Man must suffer for the multiverse to be stable. This puts him at odds with Miles Morales, who, as we discussed, is an anomaly defying a supposed canon. Whether or not one agrees with Miguel's methods, it raises an exciting concept. Miguel as the keeper of the web's integrity, trying to enforce fate at the cost of individual joy. He's become something of a multiversal guardian angel, or perhaps a grim reaper ensuring fixed points occur. Imagine the burden on Miguel if that's the case, having to look younger Spider people in the eye and tell them, "I'm sorry, your father has to die for the greater good," cannot be something he does lightly. It speaks to Miguel's character. He's willing to be the necessary monster if it secures reality. A man out of time, sacrificing his reputation and relationships to save worlds. In a way, he mirrors another time traveler with heavy knowledge, the Watcher at the web. Some comic storylines imply Miguel might one day take on a role akin to the Master Weaver himself, guiding the web after the original Weaver is freed or slain. If Gwen was considered a replacement, Miguel is an even more likely candidate. He's already tried to manually keep the web intact through managing Canon. But here's a speculative twist. What if Miguel's efforts to enforce canon events are actually part of the web's plan to evolve beyond them? Perhaps by challenging Miguel's rigid approach, heroes like Miles demonstrate that free will and compassion can thread a new pattern without destroying the tapestry. Miguel might be simultaneously right and wrong. Maybe certain events are common because they ensure a spider's commitment, but they aren't absolutely unchangeable. The true key could be understanding why the web formed those canon knots in the first place, and finding alternative ways to tie them. As a man of logic, Miguel might come to realize the multiverse isn't just a program with fixed code. It's a living story that can be rewritten if done carefully. And who better to attempt that rewrite than a genius from 2099 who straddles multiple eras? Standing atop the neon-lit ledges of Nueva York, Miguel often gazes at the cityscape and wonders about the legacy of Spider-Man. In his veins runs the legacy of Parker, even though they never met. He's quite literally a product of Spider-Man's inspiration in the future. Corporations tried to create super soldiers based on legends of the heroic age, and Miguel's accident was a result. Thus, Miguel owes his powers to Peter, and Peter's legacy partly depends on Miguel to carry it forward. It's a neat loop, a temporal handshake across a century. Miguel O'Hara is the proof that Spider-Man's heroism echoes far beyond his own time, and Miguel, through his multiversal dealings, ensures that Echo doesn't fall silent. He will continue to monitor, to fight, to bleed for the cause of the web. As the final hours of our lore journey approach, one can see all the threads tightening. Miguel, Silk, Gwen, Miles, the MCU Peter, the amazing Peter, Raimi's Peter, and the original, all connected by the great web of life and destiny, whether they know it or not. Patterns emerge, tragedies that shape heroes, accidents that aren't accidents, connections that defy reality, and a looming suggestion that something or someone out there keeps drawing spiders together when it matters most. Are these events guided by an unseen Master Weaver? Is Miguel right to fear deviations? Or are the anomalies, like Miles and Gwen thriving, the next evolution of the spider mythos? The stakes have risen from one teenager's angst to the fate of infinite worlds. And yet, at the core, these stories remain personal, relatable, human. That might be the true secret. Spider-Man is everyman and myth combined, the ordinary and the epic woven inseparably. Our web of stories is nearly complete, but not without one last convergence. The multiverse's tapestry trembles as if a great spider god is stirring. Prophecies converge, wild theories coalesce into clarity. The final act beckons. Let us step back and look at the grand design we've uncovered, and consider what it means for how we view Spider-Man going forward. From the streets of Queens to the skyscrapers of Nueva York, from the pages of comic books to the silver screen, Spider-Man's legend spans worlds and eras. Each thread we followed, Peter Parker of 616, Tobey's stalwart hero, Andrew's haunted guardian, Tom's young Avenger, Miles' brave new leap, Gwen's redemption, Silk's secret, and Miguel's vigil, is a story unto itself. Yet now we see they are all parts of a single, magnificent tapestry. It's as if every Spider-Man tale we've ever known was a chapter in one sprawling saga, the story of the web of life and destiny itself. Throughout this journey, we've glimpsed how hidden prophecies and strange coincidences guide the lives of these heroes. We've witnessed multiversal collisions and uncanny parallels. The evidence is overwhelming. Spider-Man is not an accident. None of them are. They are the chosen weavers of fate, linked in ways even they do not fully comprehend. Consider what we have learned. Across universes, certain motifs repeat: a spider bite, a personal loss, a moral epiphany. These canon events may not be ironclad rules, but they rhyme from world to world. It's as if the web of life ensures that whoever wears the mask is tempered by adversity and driven by responsibility. In one universe, it's Uncle Ben's death. In another, it's Captain Stacy or Aunt May or a beloved friend. The faces change, but the impact remains. A spider's heart is broken and then reforged stronger. We might ask, who wrote this play? Is there truly a master weaver, a cosmic spider deity scripting each hero's journey? The legends of the great web suggest so. The Marvel sages speak of totemic spider essences created by the goddess Neith, each embodying an aspect of the spider. Perhaps each Spider-Man we know carries a piece of that divine pattern. One is the other, one the bride, one the scion, others are gatekeepers or pattern makers. It's a heady thought, our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man as a literal agent of a godlike force for good, battling those who would unweave creation. And battle they have. We saw how the inheritors sought to feast on spider totems to seize control of the web, only to be foiled by the collective might of the spider army. A family of monsters tried to turn our beloved heroes into prey, and in doing so, they inadvertently united them. Perhaps that was the hidden strength of the web all along. Individual spiders are strong, but together they are unbeatable. When Peter, Gwen, Miles, Miguel, Silk, and dozens of others stood shoulder to shoulder, they embodied something fundamental, a Spider-Verse unbound, where the whole was far greater than the sum of its parts. They protected the Master Weaver, and some say a new Weaver now sits in the loom of fate. Could it be one of the spiders themselves holding the threads? The multiverse owes its survival to these web warriors. Yet, even in victory, mysteries linger. As we conclude, we can't help but speculate on the what-ifs that remain tantalizingly unresolved. What if one of them, someday, becomes the very master weaver of legend, guiding destiny for future generations? What if a new threat, perhaps another multiversal villain or a cosmic event like the forthcoming end of the Spider-Verse, arises that forces every spider hero from every corner of creation to assemble once more? The stakes could be even higher. Imagine an enemy that seeks not just to consume the web, but to erase it entirely, to prevent any Spider-Man from ever existing. Could Peter Parker, who's always seen himself as just a guy trying to do the right thing, comprehend that level of responsibility? Or Miles Morales, the unexpected anomaly? Could he be the key, the only variable unaccounted for in the grand scheme, making him the linchpin of the next multiversal crisis? These thoughts send the imagination spinning like a web in a storm. And what of the smaller curiosities that hint at big revelations? The number 42 cropping up in Miles's journey, coincidence or code from the web? The eerie bond between Peter and Cindy, will their shared spider essence unlock further powers or prophecy if, say, they were to have a child, a scion of two spider totems? Gwen's brush with the Master Weaver's role, does that foreshadow her eventual ascension to a cosmic mantle? And Miguel's crusade to enforce Canon, is he ensuring the web stays taut or inadvertently stifling its evolution? The answers hide in the shadows of coming stories. One theory looms joyously. Perhaps all these threads are converging toward an event unprecedented, a full-on Spider-Verse convergence where every Spider-Person ever might stand together. We've had glimpses, the animated films, the comics events, but the grand tapestry may yet reveal a picture we can't entirely fathom, a clash of fate and free will on the scale of infinity, with Spider-Man at its heart. If that day comes, we'll look back at the lore we explored and see that the clues were there all along, in the shared dreams of spiders, in the recurrent motifs, in the wild fan theories of secret connections that turned out not to be so wild after all. For now, though, we end our tale on a note of wonder and empowerment. The multiverse is a vast and scary place, but Spider-Man, in all his or her forms, is the constant comfort. Across dimensions, the face under the mask may differ, be it Peter, Miles, Gwen, Miguel, Cindy, or someone yet unnamed, but the spirit of Spider-Man endures. Courageous, compassionate, witty in the face of danger, and endlessly determined to do what's right. It is a mantle woven into the cosmos, a red and blue thread that ties reality together in hope. The next time you see Spider-Man swing by, remember, he might be part of something much larger than just your neighborhood. And if you ever feel a tingle at the base of your skull, a sense that someone out there knows exactly what you're going through and reminds you to keep fighting, that might just be the Spidey sense of the multiverse itself, a resonance from the web that connects us all to these heroes. In the final analysis, Spider-Man's multiversal lore is a grand mystery thriller with no end in sight, each answer spawning new questions. We are ensnared, happily, in this web of stories. And as any spider will tell you, once you're in the web, there's no escaping. Not that we'd want to. This is the magic of the Spider-Verse, forever spinning, forever catching us in its silken threads of intrigue. The audience remains locked in, as promised, with no safe place to stop, because Spider-Man's story, in any universe, always leaves us hungering for the next swing, the next revelation, the next chapter in the web of fate.